What's going on, hockey friends? We are back, and today we are talking about the Vancouver Canucks, who have had themselves a pretty busy off-season. Trading for big players, trading away bad contracts, signing some big deals, and they're not done yet. So today, we're going to take a look at their off-season so far. I'll talk about the Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland trade. I'll have a look at the other trades and signings, and then we're going to get into some speculation because as of uploading this video, neither Elias Pettersson or Quinn Hughes have signed new deals. So, let's get right into it. And we're gonna get right into their biggest deal of this offseason, trading for Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland, giving up their first rounder in the draft just passed, a second round pick in 2022, and a massive cap dump of a combined $12 million in Louis Eriksson, Jay Beagle, and Antoine Roussel. Now, Oliver Ekman-Larsson has to be looked at as the big fish in this deal. He was the captain of the Arizona Coyotes and he's been a recognized established top defenseman in the NHL. But I say has been because, truth be told, he's fallen off massively over these past 3 seasons, and it's such a shame to see because peak Ekman-Larsson was incredible, and in 2019 he signed what could now be considered one of the worst contracts in the league, 8 years at $8.25 million. And Vancouver probably won't be getting the Ekman-Larsson of 3-4 years ago, and the fact that they have to deal with this contract is... I feel sorry for them, but hey, Arizona will be retaining around $1 million, so they should be fine, right? Could Ekman-Larsson be a success in Vancouver? I mean, anything can happen, but it would have to be a massive 180, and with the downward spiral Ekman-Larsson has found himself in, it could be tough. You could argue his downfall could be because of the Coyotes being bad, and I can definitely see that, but then you see Jakob Chychrun absolutely bossing it this season, so I don't know. His offensive instincts are there and he has a really good shot, so if you could get him producing on the power play and not ask him to play defense 90% of the time he's on ice, maybe this change of scenery is good for him. The other part of this trade was for forward Connor Garland, and he was subsequently signed to a 5-year deal at $4.95 million. I like this move. I like trading for the player, I like the contract, and I like what he will bring to the Canucks top 6. There's really not much else to say about this. He can score goals and he's a legit top 6 forward, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has a season similar to JT Miller's first season with the Canucks. Giving up 2 draft picks is tough, but for Arizona, they are stacking draft picks ahead of the 2022 draft. Anyways, the Canucks made more trades, trading away Nate Schmidt, who they acquired 10 months ago from the Vegas Golden Knights, and now they dealt him to Winnipeg for a 3rd round pick in next year's draft. I mean, he's a pretty good offensive defenseman, and the contract was probably not ideal when you have to re-sign Pettersson and Hughes, so I can see why he was traded. He frees up almost $6 million of cap space, and I hope Jim Benning uses that well. We'll see. And the last noteworthy trade the Canucks made was for Jason Dickinson. He's a good defensive forward who I can see fitting in on the 3rd line well, and I don't really have any complaints about this. So those were the trades the Canucks made, and overall, they're alright. I really like Connor Garland, but Ekman-Larsson kind of weighs that down, and Dickinson is a solid acquisition. They also did really well of getting rid of all that cap space, and with that said, let's move on to the free agent signings. So, the big free agent signing the Canucks made was Tucker Poolman, and it's very underwhelming. I don't see how this makes any sense long term considering he signed a 4-year deal at $2.5 million. To me, it's both too much term and too much money. Yeah, the Canucks needed another right-handed defenseman and they re-signed Travis Hamonic, and now they have Hamonic, Tyler Myers, and Tucker Poolman on their right side. But with Poolman, to me, he's a 3rd pairing guy, but he really isn't anything special, and I don't think he's worth the contract. And the same can be said about Travis Hamonic. Right-handed defensemen are at a premium in the NHL, but $3 million is too much for him. But for 2 years, it's not as bad as the Poolman contract. The Canucks also bought out Braden Holtby. That experiment didn't really work, and instead they signed Jaroslav Halak to a 1-year deal, and I like it. He's a good backup, and there's really no risk to it, seeing as it's a 1-year deal. It's just good business. They also made some minor signings in Brandon Sutter and Luke Chen. They're just depth guys on pretty insignificant deals relative to the cap, and they'll be ready to step up when injuries occur. And I guess I'll throw it in here. The Bulldog, Vasily Podkolzin, is looking like he's finally coming over to the NHL after 2 years in Russia after getting drafted in 2019. And by all accounts, he's going to play with the Canucks this upcoming season, which is very exciting indeed. So overall, the offseason so far for the Canucks has been alright. They've done some pretty awful contracts like the Louis Eriksson deal. Granted, that was running up next year, but they still lost it, and now they have about $13 million left to play with. And they're going to need that money because they are yet to sign Elias, Pettersson or Quinn Hughes to new contracts. So we're getting really close to the NHL season starting, and we're yet to hear anything on the contract situations for both Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. And should we be getting worried? I don't think so, not yet at least, and I know it sounds a bit wild considering we've gone this whole summer without hearing basically anything of interest about Pettersson or Hughes, but according to Rick Dalival, writer for the Canucks on The Athletic, talks were going to increase after Labor Day weekend, which was a week ago. And personally, I think everything will be resolved before the season starts. I don't think we're going to have another William Nylander situation like we had 3 years ago. Now, if you're a Canucks fan and you're getting worried about an offer sheet for Elias Pettersson, I wouldn't blame you because we've already had one successful offer sheet this offseason. Now, if you want to argue whether giving Jesper Kotkaniemi a $6.1 million contract is successful, that's a whole different discussion, but the fact of the matter is that if a GM wants complete chaos, the possibility of an offer sheet for Elias Pettersson is there. You can do it, and I don't think it's going to happen. And I think the problem here is that Vancouver is trying to figure out how they can fit both Petey and Hughes in the remaining cap space. In an ideal world, you sign both of them to long-term deals, but the Canucks don't have the money to do that right now because I'm guessing they're not signing for $6 million each. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy if Pettersson wanted $9 or even $10 million, and Quinn Hughes probably wants the same money after seeing the Cale Makar contract. Now, I don't think Quinn Hughes should be getting that much money, but that's how the market works. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, I think they're both going to end up with bridge deals. 2 or 3 years at $5 million each would be my guess, but I obviously have no insight in the negotiations and I'm just a YouTuber wildly speculating. I just hope they get it done soon, and if not, there's a certain man in Montreal who's been very involved in a few offer sheets over the years. Anyway guys, what do you think? Are you happy with the Canucks offseason, and what contracts do you think Pettersson and Hughes will end up with? Talk to me in the comments below, stay tuned for more videos, and I will see you in the next one.